Hello and welcome to Sex RX. I'm Julie Banderas in for Dr. Manny today. 1 in 2 women are sexually abused in their lifetime, and 1 in 5 men are too. My guest today, Layla Martin. She is a survivor. She studied sexuality at Stanford University and in the jungles of Asia with tantric masters to heal from the trauma. And she is here to share her story and how others can rehab their lives too. Thank you so much, Layla, for talking to us. Why did you decide that you, in particular, needed to come out and do something about it?
So when I first really looked at the fact that I needed to go deeply into healing around this because I couldn't have a normal relationship, I couldn't get over a wall that I felt and a numbness in my body, I couldn't just have a boyfriend normally like any other woman. And when I first went into it, it was so difficult. It was so challenging. And there was this model of just being okay. And I dealt with so much depression, so much chronic fatigue. And I thought, okay, like if I figure out a way to get through this, like I got to tell absolutely everyone possible.
And that is the hardest part, is telling. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that this occurs to girls and boys at such very young ages. And when you're a young child and an adult tells you something to do, you assume it's okay. And when you realize it's not okay, if it doesn't feel okay, you stay quiet because you're a child and you're supposed to obey your adults. How young were you?
It started when I was 3 and finished when I was 7 years old.
And when did you finally tell?
So I actually did try and tell my mother when I was young, and I think a lot of children, like, they feel such shame and they take it on themselves. I certainly took it on as being my fault. And then it wasn't until I was about 23 when I started actually speaking about it and sharing about it. And it's still so challenging because you feel like then that's how everyone thinks of you after that. You know, it's hard to then move on into the
It's like retraining yourself. You train yourself to stay quiet. So then when you finally do come out and speak at age 23, there's still so much more training to do. And that's what your message is all about. Talk to me about your journey of sexual healing and what that was like.
Yeah, so I did traditional therapy first. I went and saw a sex therapist, and I eventually realized like talking about it wasn't quite enough. I needed to take stock, but it was really sitting in my body. It was tension, it was pain, it was numbness. So I went out to Asia to actually learn the deep healing practices of Tantra, and I spent about 7 years working on releasing the trauma and the pain.
Let's talk about some of the other therapies that can actually help people who are suffering from sexual trauma, beginning with tantric bioenergetic healing practice. What is that?
That's a way to actually use the breath to take down some of the conditioning and the disconnection from the pain itself. So it allowed me to actually feel the amount of pain I was really in, and then to be able to gently release it through sounding, through movement, so that my body felt more free again.
So for example, if you could show me, what kind of breathing are you talking about?
So it's a deep connected breath in and out of the lower belly. So like that.
Okay. And that is supposed to be able to just sort of bring you to a more peaceful state of mind in order to cope. And this isn't just for sex abuse victims. I mean, this is really for anybody who suffers from anxiety, from depression, from PTSD. Let's talk about EMDR. What is that?
That is a therapy that has to do with the bilateral movement of the eyes. And what it does is it brings the left and right brain hemispheres together into integration, because what trauma does is it actually separates pieces of the brain. So there's a lot of therapies that work with the person being able to revisit the trauma, but from a place of integration, and that creates healing.
So TRE, it's trauma releasing exercises. Tell me about that.
This is where you induce a shaking in the body. So in all animals, whenever they experience trauma, afterwards they shake to integrate and release the trauma. We often interfere with this, and so we actually trap the trauma in our body. So in TRE, you go back into the shaking to complete the process of being traumatized, which actually releases it out of your system.
That is fascinating, because it is true that animals obviously don't have the minds that we do, so their bodies naturally allow themselves to release that fear. And if you have a dog who doesn't like fireworks, for example, or it's thundering outside, you'll notice your dog starts to shake. Are you physically really supposed to shake and get this out of you? Is that really healing?
So what happens is you start making yourself shake originally, and then what will happen is your body will take over and it will complete the freezing mechanism that originally happened that locks the trauma into the body.
Tell me about yoni massage. What is that all about?
Yoni massage.
Yoni massage.
Yes.
I've never heard of such a thing.
Yes, it's new for a lot of people.
Okay.
So yoni is the Sanskrit word for a woman's vagina. And so what it is an actual therapeutic vaginal massage that's done either by her husband or partner or even a trained practitioner, but you got to be careful with them because some of them are really shady.
Yeah.
And it's actually designed to be a healing and a release, because so many women who have been abused, they never actually have a way to revisit the area and do really deep healing.
Wow. Where can people get more information about this?
Absolutely. Well, you can visit my website, so laylamartin.com. I make lots of videos all around this subject material. And then when people have really specific things, I look for the highest quality practitioners so I can go ahead and recommend them.
Okay, well, thank you so much for talking to us. I really do appreciate Layla Martin for coming in, sharing your story. And I know that every day it gets easier, but I mean, the fact that you're coming out and telling your story hopefully will inspire others to do the same. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And if you have a health question, you can tweet Dr. Manny at Dr. Manny on Fox. Until next time, I'm Julie Banderas.